Welcome to the next generation in chelated minerals. Introducing new Kure Plus amino acid chelated minerals from Balchem. Kure Plus delivers a higher concentration of mineral with a superior amino acid profile. The higher mineral content adds formulation flexibility, opening up space in the ration, and also reduces the carbon footprint. The superior amino acid profile delivers 28% protein from microbial biomass and reduces the amount of supplemental lysine needed in the ration. The Kure Plus line also offers a granulated form for improved handling characteristics and reduced dust. Visit balchem.com to see how new Kure Plus can deliver the added benefits you need to improve performance and reduce manufacturing hurdles.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Science Lecture Series. My name is Scott Sorrell. I'm the Director of Global Marketing here at Balchem. Today, we launch our 2025 Companion Animal Webinar Series with special guest Rodney Benjamin of Albion Laboratories. Rodney has worked extensively with MSM since April 1997. He is currently Director of Nutrition Science at Albion Laboratories, a subsidiary of Balchem Corporation. He holds degrees in both chemistry and business administration and is the inventor of numerous MSM patents. Rodney is considered a subject matter expert on MSM and has delivered several interviews and technical presentations, both domestically and internationally. Rodney, welcome to the Real Science Lecture Series. The floor is now yours.
Thank you, Scott, and welcome to everyone that's joining us for the webinar. I'm going to talk about MSM, as Scott mentioned, and an overview of this broad utility supplement. MSM has a lot of applications, and I'm going to try and convey why it is such a broad utility supplement. So first, let's start with what is MSM. MSM is an acronym for methylsulfonomethane. That's quite a mouthful, so you can understand why we call it MSM. It's a naturally occurring nutrient composed of sulfur, oxygen, and methyl groups. It provides multiple advantages. It acts as a source of sulfur in the diet, acts as a source of also methyl groups, and supplementation with MSM's demonstrated advantages for joint, skin health, and also supports an active lifestyle by supporting exercise recovery. You can see this is a drawing of an MSM molecule. When you can see the sulfur, there's two double bonded oxygens and two methyl groups. So is MSM natural or synthetic? All commercial MSM is made by chemical synthesis, so it is synthetic, but MSM is part of the Earth's natural sulfur cycle. So marine organisms such as bacteria, algae, and phytoplankton decompose, release dimethyl sulfide or DMS, and that goes up into the atmosphere, where it is oxidized by ozone and high energy ultraviolet light to produce DMSO or dimethyl sulfoxide and dimethyl sulfone. So the DMSO and the MSM are water soluble. They provide cloud forming nuclei where they join with the water, fall back to the earth as rain, and are taken up in the root systems of plants and concentrated. So with that, MSM is naturally present in food. Highest natural occurring levels of MSM are found in mammals' milk, but you also find it in lots of plants such as alfalfa, oats, Swiss chard. We got it in coffee and beer. I mean, it's in a lot of different things, and this is natural occurring. So, kind of focus today on two main focuses of science, right? You've always got to prove the safety, but then also efficacy. So first off, let's talk a little bit about the safety of MSM. So here is a summary list of acute toxicology or safety studies that have been done on MSM. And as you can see in the left-hand column, there's several studies been done in mouse, rats, and even in dogs. And if you notice the LD50 there, you see one there, greater than or equal to 17,020 milligrams per kilogram. All of these are very high. I mean, most of these are just the highest level that they tested, and they did not reach necessarily an LD50 because half the animals did not perish, but they could only go so high. But basically, bottom line is MSM has been proven to be extremely safe. So here's a summary list of subchronic toxicology studies on MSM. You can see it's done in both equine or horses, rat, and also I mentioned the cat. You don't see the numbers there, but we'll talk about that particular study a little bit later in this presentation. So MSM is, as I've said, a very broad utility supplement. It provides basically whole body wellness. And how and why can it do that? Well, it's got three main mechanisms. So it's anti-inflammatory, or down regulates the expression of inflammatory markers. It's also antioxidant. And the interesting thing about that is MSM is not a direct antioxidant. If you go back and remember the diagram of the molecule, you've got two double bonded oxygens, two methyl groups. Everything basically a very happy little molecule, I like to refer to it. It's kind of simplistic way of saying it, but there's no reactive sites on it. So in the presence of a reactive oxygen or nitrogen species, also known as free radicals, MSM will not neutralize one, right? It's because there's no reactive sites for it to neutralize the free radicals. But what it does do is it boosts glutathione, also SOD, superoxide dismutase, and catalase. So it does have this antioxidant effect without being a direct antioxidant itself. It basically boosts the body's endogenous antioxidant system, helps keep that oxidative balance. It also has been shown to be a sulfur and methyl donor. So the sulfur donation has been proven. There's been a couple of different studies where we've actually looked at radio-labeled sulfur, S35, and we've seen it go into a number of different, we saw it in disulfide bonds. It's went throughout, very well distributed throughout the body. And just recently, we did look at and showed that it also can donate its methyl group. So if you have that double bonded oxygen or sulfur with a double bonded oxygens, but you take that sulfur and donate it, what's left? You have the methyl groups. We long suspected that it did donate those, but we had not proven it. We did do, it's kind of in its initial stages, but we had an in vitro study where we showed that the methyl group was donated and took place in DNA methylation. This was done using deuterated methyl groups, so we're able to track those. So, there's additional, we need to now do that in an actual in vivo. That was an in vitro model in the hepatocytes. But you'll hear more about that in the future, hopefully. So sulfur, as we said, sulfur, it's an essential mineral. Donates sulfur. It's the third most abundant mineral in the body, involved in over 200 processes. It's also part of your connective tissue, providing disulfide bonds, which helps strengthen collagen and formation through the procollagen disulfide bonds. It's an essential building block. I know a lot about the sulfur-containing amino acids, methionine and cysteine. When we did do the radio-labeled sulfur studies, we were able to demonstrate that MSM does go into that sulfur metabolism and helps with sulfur and the cysteine and methionine. It also takes place as phase 2 detoxification and is part of the glutathione metabolism. Antioxidant, I talked about that, but there's also the whole body support, right? So that's how it can support skin health, joint health, and muscle performance by keeping that oxidative balance within the body. You don't want to get into oxidative stress where it can start damaging, your tissues and whatnot. And again, liver support, glutathione metabolism. So that's how the antioxidant part of its mechanism provides the whole body support. And again, like I said, you've got the glutathione synthesis, but you also have superoxide dismutase and catalase have been shown to be increased with MSM supplementation. And it's also anti-inflammatory. Now, it provides balance. It is not a blocker like an analgesic, which would put it in a drug category, right? So it just provides balance. So with things like nuclear factor kappa B and inflammasomes, it just helps modulate that so it doesn't become overwhelming. It supports collagen, resilient joints, supports tendon, ligament health. We do have some studies also in place right now where we're looking more into the immune response. So you'll be hearing a little bit more, but we have shown that it helps preserve the immune response after exhaustive exercise. So we'll talk about, these health benefits and how I'm going to go into a little bit more how these mechanisms of action facilitate this being such a broad utility ingredient. So again, three main parts or areas that it helps we'll be talking about is beauty from within, support of healthy joints, and how it aids exercise recovery or supports activity or an active lifestyle. Now, I will say, we will be hitting pretty heavily on a lot of the human clinical trials, but also on the animal side and how this does pertains to our four-footed friends here. So MSM does provide nutritional support for beauty from within. So in other words, nutritional support for hair, skin, and nails. So we know that sulfur is a critical component of skin, hair, and nails. It provides the building blocks. You got collagen, dermatan sulfate, hyaluronic acid. And it also, as I've mentioned, helps to form glutathione, which is a critical player in one of the body's major antioxidant defense systems. We do know that as we age, collagen actually decreases, and it's partly due to oxidative stress, but that would also lead to wrinkles. And we have done a study, human clinical, where we showed that MSM significantly decreased the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. And we've also shown that as little as 1 gram a day, this of course was in humans, significantly decreased the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles around the face, nasal labial area, also crow's feet and forehead wrinkles. This looked at MSM as a standalone, but also MSM and hydrolyzed fish collagen, and it showed that it did act synergistically with collagen. And we looked at or evaluated this in 3 different ways: with instrumental analysis, expert visual grading, and participant self-assessment. You'll notice here that the self-assessment actually had some of the highest scores of improvement, which is kind of what you want to see, because happy consumers make happy customers and repeat customers. Now, we also looked at hair, and this happened to be in people with telogen effluvium, which is a temporary hair loss. And this was as low as 1,000 milligrams per day. And what we found was that it significantly improved hair density and significantly improved hair diameter. So here is just a list of the human clinical trials, right, where we've shown improvements in hair, skin, and nails. Again, these are all human clinical studies, ranging in dosage from 1 to 3 grams per day. And we saw, now, a lot of people, you might say, well, gee, fine lines and wrinkles, there's not too many, dogs or horses out there that are worrying about the wrinkles. However, if you really look at that, it's moisture retention and making sure that skin stays hydrated, which helps alleviate those fine lines and wrinkles. So, we've looked at things like skin hydration, skin elasticity, nails were looked at, nail condition assessment. Again, in equine, that equates to their hooves. Keratin has a lot of sulfur in it. MSM is sulfur donor, right? And then also in the hair, looking at hair count, hair diameter. So the human clinicals, I think, are important to look at, but we also are moving more into, companion pets and whatnot. So here was a study that looked at the effect of dietary MSM supplementation on growth performance, hair quality. We also looked, the fecal biota and metabolome in ragdoll kittens. So there's 21 kittens served with basal diet. And the basal diet also then supplemented with 0.2% or 0.4% MSM. So the daily feeding was 100 to 130 grams per feed per day. So that makes your dose calculation, roughly 200 to 400 milligrams. It was a 65-day period. And we saw the scale thickness of kitten's hair. So the scale size equates to healthier hair, better, softer, laying better. And as you can see here, A is the control. You've got B is the lower dose, and C is the higher dose. And I think hopefully you can see the in these micrographs here where MSM did lead to a thinner scale, which is better, softer. And then the bottom row where E is day 0 and G is day 65, day 35 is the middle one. So you can see as it went on longer, it continued to make those scales thinner over a period of time. Also, the scale height of the kitten's hair did shorten. So again, leading to the conclusion that had better hair or better quality overall. Interesting thing, the strand diameter of the kitten's hair did not change significantly, where in the human hair, we did see that, but there are differences between, kitten fur and human hair. So just kind of an interesting finding. But the ragdoll kitten study, they also looked at serum biochemistry. This was this is one of the few areas in the study where it's kind of nice not to see statistically significant, because we were comparing the control to doses of MSM. There were no statistical differences, which suggests that, it is very safe. So the conclusion of the study overall is that MSM is safe and helps improve hair quality of the kittens. So this is actually one of the first studies in feline supporting the safety inclusion of MSM. So kind of nice. So basically important mineral for skin, hair, beauty. Just kind of recap, MSM is a source of sulfur, which is a key component of healthy hair, skin, and nails. It maintains healthy hair, skin, and nails. We have references here, so if you want to go back and look at these slides, they do list all of the references at the bottom. But these are more, human claims. You got to be careful with the when you're talking animals, right? But MSM supporting active lifestyle and exercise. We'll move into that. Recovery is critical for performance. Regular exercise places stress on joints, cartilage, connective tissue, tendons, ligaments. Maintaining these healthy joints is a key component of exercise. But we know that exercise can create oxidative stress, right? But oxidative stress is good as far as a certain amount of that. That's it builds up, the muscles and whatnot. But you don't want to overwhelm the system. You don't want to go into a strong oxidative stress that can start causing damage and whatnot, right? So we need to mitigate that or maintain that oxidative balance. Exercise can lead to muscle damage and pain. It is interesting in the human side, we have shown that MSM does reduce delayed onset muscle soreness following exercise. So it's one of the few areas where a structure function claim can be said to help relieve discomfort or pain, and that's basically has to be following exercise. So that's been shown. How does MSM support? Well, in 3,000 milligrams a day, this was N of 24. We used 3,000 milligrams per day. The exercise that we submitted these guys to was leg extensions. Basically went to exhaustion. And here we saw MSM reducing pain following exercise. You can see placebo versus MSM. And this is a VAS pain score. So we showed that MSM supplementation improves exercise recovery and helps with the muscle damage. Another study, small double-blind placebo-controlled study in untrained males, 18 subjects received 50 milligrams per kilogram body weight, so that was just under 4 grams, and then performed a 14-kilometer run. Blood was collected and analyzed for markers of oxidative stress. We looked at MDA, which is malondialdehyde, which is a marker of basically lipid oxidation, protein carbonyls, oxidized glutathione, reduced glutathione, and then we measured the antioxidant capacity as the reduced to oxidized ratio. So the results showed that reduced oxidative stress in the MSM treatment group. These graphs show that the oxidized glutathione and the serum malondialdehyde are both significantly less in the MSM treatment group compared to placebo. So this is indicative that the oxidative stress was mitigated by the MSM supplementation. So this graph shows the antioxidant capacity is significantly higher in the MSM treatment group as measured by the reduced glutathione to oxidized glutathione ratio. So this is a summary, again, of the exercise recovery studies done on MSM within the human side. These studies demonstrate a reduction in oxidative stress and a decrease in exercise-induced pain. It results in a quicker recovery from delayed onset muscle soreness and quicker exercise recovery overall. And that is also, similar study been done. This was done in equine. It's titled "The Effect of MSM Supplementation on Biomarkers of Oxidative Stress in Sports Horses Following Jumping Exercise." So this was N of 22. It took 8 milligrams per kilogram of MSM, but they're also treated with that was one arm, but also MSM along with vitamin C. The effect of MSM alone or combined with vitamin C on reduced glutathione levels following exercise is shown in this graph. And as you can see, as time went on, so this is over a 35-day, these horses were exercising 4 to 5 days a week. And over the period of time, you can see that the glutathione level continued to decrease, right? This is the dark, on the left side of the three columns. MSM helped boost that glutathione up. But it's interesting when you look at the two together, the vitamin C and MSM, it's almost the same as baseline, right, before exercise. So the two, it appeared that MSM and vitamin C together really help maintain those glutathione levels pretty much all the way up, to baseline levels. So again, that's showing both very strong human data, but also followed with equine data. MSM, source of sulfur, nutrient that is a key component of glutathione, helps support healthy joint tissue, and it's been shown to reduce oxidative stress following exercise, both in trained and inexperienced athletes. It helps reduce post-exercise pain and reduces post-exercise muscle damage. All of this helps with muscle recovery, especially if you're trying to condition and train an animal. So we're also, the last but not least, MSM, which provides nutritional support for joint health. So what does MSM and sulfur do for joint health? Well, sulfur acts as a key component of healthy joints. It maintains healthy joint function, supports overall joint health. It maintains quality of life measures, maintains joint comfort, and maintains physical function and joint function. This has all been shown and proven in human clinical trials. Does MSM support joint health in healthy subjects? Well, study goal. So this was interesting. Again, we're talking about structure function claims in as a supplement. Supplements have to be stuck with the structure function claims. You go outside of that, you cannot treat osteoarthritis. You cannot treat those kind of things with a dietary supplement. So this was a study. It was a human clinical trial done just last year. It was done in Japan and with 2,000 milligrams per day. And again, human clinical trial over a course of 12 weeks. And they were evaluated using the JKOM, which is Japanese knee osteoarthritis measure. Even though these were healthy subjects, they used the JKOM index to measure basically joint function. And what we found, the results showed significant improvement in the JKOM health condition score at 12 weeks versus placebo, and significantly better markers of joint health, function, and comfort at 12 weeks. These results demonstrate good efficacy of MSM to support joint health in a healthy population. As a matter of fact, this will be submitted to try and get joint health claims in Japan for humans. It is a little easier to design and do this when you these studies in humans, because you can actually ask them, how are you feeling? Which is a little bit difficult sometimes when we're working in our animal models and whatnot. So there's another study done in humans to determine the efficacy of MSM supplementation on joint function and comfort. In this one, there was 49 subjects. They took just over 3 grams of MSM per day, used the WOMAC, ALF, which is aggregated locomotor function, also the standard function 36 quality of life, and also a VAS pain score. The results showed significantly improved joint function and comfort. So the interesting thing, if you look at that first graph, this is almost every single subcategory within the WOMAC has statistically significant improvement. And then also the quality of life, which is the SF36, also had wonderful improvement over our placebo group. So there is a number of studies. Here they are listed again in chart form like we did on the other ones, showing that MSM does help with support joint health. And again, measured by JKOM, WOMAC, Lequeen index. I mean, these almost every one of your major joint health validated ways of measuring that has been used in these studies for MSM. So the importance of minerals of joint health, longevity health. Okay, so MSM, again, source of sulfur, king component of the healthy joints. You look at chondroitin sulfate, keratin, all of these things that have sulfur in them, right? MSM being a source of sulfur supports that, also helps with the oxidative stress, and by mitigating inflammatory like cytokines. These are measures of inflammation. It helps support overall joint health. Talk a little bit about canine and the studies within canine health. You have there has been some toxicity studies done in beagles, and then the other studies they're looking primarily at joint health, but also at overall health. Most of these studies have been done in multi-component or multi-ingredient formulations. Nice thing is some of them, if you look at it, they look at some of the, like each one of them individually and then together. But they have all found, decrease in antioxidant or in oxidative stress. Also, less muscle damage and exercise. If you look at the one on the right, Lee, that was a botanical mixture. So there was 11, it was a multi-component with 11 different ingredients, including MSM, and the results suggested the health of most of the military working dogs improved. So these are kind of broad, they're not specific with standalone MSM, but MSM has been included in all of these formulations and did show good improvement. And, and like I said, mostly this is joint health. Equine studies have also been done. The Rigel is kind of interesting. That's a thermographic imaging. I will say, just be upfront, that study is not peer reviewed. However, it was interesting, showing that higher doses of MSM showed a faster effect. It did show an anti-inflammatory effect because less, that's thermograph. Imaging shows, lights up when you have inflammation, assuming that's muscle soreness. Keegan, that was a multi-component formulation, again, that showed good improvement, and that was more of a joint health. The Moranian study is one that I already had mentioned. This was oxidative stress in jumping horses. There was a lot more than just glutathione, but just in the, to not, or to try and conserve time, I didn't go over every one of the findings there, but it did show statistically significant improvement in reduction in oxidative stress. Now let's talk a little bit about the regulatory positioning of MSM. So by Commission regulation EU 2022-1104, from as of July 2022, MSM is a approved feed material in the EU. You see the number there, 13.9.1, and it is this synthetic, but it's approved for sulfur donation, right? Providing dietary sulfur. Now, as a feed material, it means products, vegetable or animal origin, whose principal purpose is to meet animals' nutritional needs in their natural state. I won't read all of that. I mean, you guys can read that for yourself, but basically, it can go into animal feed. In the EU, MSM is not an approved feed ingredient within the US. So it's interesting. Most people listening to this probably know that we do not have the equivalent of DSHEA in the animal market. We do for humans. That has created the category of dietary supplements. And the animal side, you basically have, it's either going to be a drug or it's going to be a feed ingredient. There is no actual regulatory definition, or, well, I don't want to say definition, but category of supplements. So several years ago, from this came out of industry, the National Animal Supplement Council was formed. Balchem, by the way, is a preferred supplier of NASC. And that provided a way for supplements, to be marketed. Now, interesting thing, just a little side note here, is our MSM manufacturing facility. At one time, we were licensed as feed manufacturer by the state of Washington. During acquisition, I had to redo that license, and when I applied to the Washington State Department of Agriculture, they told me that no, we cannot give you a feed license because you're not an approved feed ingredient. And they recommended that we reach out and get in touch with NASC. So even though it's not formally a regulatory body, it is well recognized by the regulators. And like I said, the Department of Agriculture told me to reach out to them. We were already in contact. We were already a preferred supplier at that time. But it just shows that they are recognized. They're doing things right. by putting GMP and minimum quality standards on our dietary supplement type ingredients. Just showing this was something that was sponsored going back. Now, this is 23 years ago, December of 2002. NASC sponsored a study of clinical experience with the use of MSM within veterinary practice. There was 39 veterinarians that responded. And pretty much overwhelmingly, they said that pure or a product containing MSM in clinical experience are considered safe by the veterinarians for long-term use. So that would be daily use for 6 months or greater in dogs, cats, and horses. So these are our companion pets. 87% of the veterinarians participating in this study reported no side effects that they could attribute to the use of MSM in any of the species. Again, dogs, cats, equines, based on clinical experience. 5% did report some side effects. That was only 2 out of the 39. And the only side effect in the clinical experience of these veterinarians had to do with gastrointestinal upset. So NASC, I am, a fan of these guys. Reached out to them last week, and they gave me this report again, February 7th. So this was last Friday. The ingredient MSM, of course, number of NASC registered products containing MSM is coming in at 3,146. There is a lot of MSM products out there on the market. Okay. These are all that's the number registered with NASC. And they also, in their database, 36 years that MSM has been on the market. They have a adverse event reporting system. That's what generated this report. So if you have any questions, I do recommend, contacting them. They're a great resource for our industry. So I want to now go into and talk a little bit about how MSM is made. It is very important. I don't mean this as being a commercial for MSM or anything, but I've been doing MSM for 27 years. MSM is made from DMSO. Okay. DMSO is classified as a drug. It is an FEI prohibited substance, while MSM is not. DMSO is also a very strong solvent. It can dissolve epoxy resin. Okay. If you do not use the proper equipment when handling DMSO, such as the wrong types of plastics or even rubber, I can tell you if you're not using the correct types of gaskets and a chemical hose when you're transferring DMSO, it will eat that up. So those plasticizers, rubber, things like that can end up in the DMSO, right? So we're going into MSM manufacturing process. Every bit of MSM out there on the market is made by a reaction of DMSO and hydrogen peroxide, which yields MSM and water. It then has to be purified. Then you convert it into its final form, whether it's crystals or microprills or flakes or whatever. And then it goes into your final package. Okay, but the purification step is the most important because you have to remove the MSM from the water and any reaction byproducts, right? And there's 2 different purification processes that are used for this. There's crystallization and distillation. Crystallization does not guarantee elimination of local hazards within the final product. The purity of the crystals depends heavily on the purity of the water and the raw materials used in manufacturing, and this could possibly lead to contamination because when these crystals grow, they form their needle-type crystals. They can form occlusions or pockets that trap impurities within these crystals. These impurities can be plasticides or chlorinated hydrocarbons, heavy metal salts, or even DMSO. So purification method. Distillation is best. It's better than crystallization, and that's not just my opinion. You can pull up chemical engineering handbooks, and they will tell you that distillation is generally a superior method of purification over crystallization. This is a photomicrograph of distilled MSM. You can see these are very nice white, just very nice looking micrograph. And this is what a crystallized product can look at. Now, I mentioned the occlusions. And if you look at, it looks like water spots on this crystal, right? And that are the occlusions or pockets that form during these. They're a needle type crystal. And as they form, these occlusions are in there. And that is where possibility of these contaminants can be. So I'm a firm believer in distillation as, of MSM. I will say multi-stage distillation uses our purification method. Contaminants with boiling points that are below that of MSM can be removed first. They come out first, then you end up getting to the MSM's boiling point. The MSM is driven off overhead, leaving behind your higher boiling impurities, which could be like your heavy metals and anything that boils at a temperature higher than MSM. So just kind of a recap, MSM is extremely safe. It has very low toxicity. We've looked at, dermal sensitivity, eye, reproductive health, human grade of safety. As a matter of fact, we have grass for human use. It has been researched in pets, equine, humans. It's been in the animal market for, 39 years. You've got over 3,000 products out there. That wouldn't happen if it didn't have a very high level of safety, right? We know that it's 100% bioavailable. That has been proven when we did oral versus intravenous, showing that it's 100% bioavailable, shows up in the bloodstream within 45 minutes. First half-life is approximately 10 to 12 hours. Suggested dosing is variable based upon what animal is going into, but your safety profile, LD50 of over 17,000 milligrams per kilogram of body weight, extremely safe. Again, there's your human grass number, GRN 000229, so it is human grass, generally recognized as safe. So this means that not only it's not just self-affirmed, but it was submitted to FDA. Again, this was CIFSAN, Center for Food Safety and Nutrition, and they issued a letter of no questions. So that's the end of my presentation. Speaking of questions, we'll now go over to the Q&A part.
Yeah, thank you, Rodney. But before we get started with our Q&A portion, we'd like to share a brief video, and then we'll be right back to answer the questions submitted during today's presentation.
At Balchem Animal Nutrition and Health, we strive every day to deliver results you can see in your animal's productivity and your bottom line. From a smooth transition into the milking string for your fresh cows, to a happy welcome home from your furry friend. From a strong start in your poultry flock, to consistent weight gains for your finishing hogs. We expect to earn your business and your trust with our people, our products, and our science. Our people have an intense passion for your animals and your success. You can count on us for honest, candid advice and practical solutions for your toughest challenges. As the global leader in choline production, chelation, and encapsulation technology, we take our obligation to you and to the environment seriously. Our products are backed by the most extensive and thorough research portfolio, while our business is committed to advancing environmental sustainability and animal welfare. In the end, it all comes down to results. Balchem delivers real results you can count on, results that exceed your expectations, and results that bring true value to your bottom line. Leading the charge to meet the nutritional needs of ruminants, monogastrics, and companion animals, Balchem offers a growing portfolio of nutritional products and a dedication to innovation and industry sustainability. Balchem is here to solve today and shape tomorrow.
All right. As a reminder, you can still submit questions through the Q&A tab at the top of your screen. Rodney, our first question, Let's see. I'd like to go with Luis. Luis has a question that's to compare. It's a lot like some of the other questions I've got, but so I'll make it two parts. He'd like to know, how does MSM compare to other supplements like hyaluronic acid, chondroitin, glucosamine? And then part two would be, what are the synergies with some of these other compounds?
Well, MSM does act synergistically, like glucosamine, chondroitin. There is a number of studies that have shown that, like there was one by Lubis, which is actually, you'll find out listed on the slide talking about joint health, where they looked at chondroitin sulfate, for instance, and then added as little, and this was in humans, right? So considering the dose, but as little as 500 milligrams of MSM was added, and it almost doubled the efficacy or the effect and the improvement. Now, if you look at glucosamine and chondroitin, they are, let's say, building blocks, right, within the joints and in cartilage, where you don't necessarily find MSM as MSM in the joints. But MSM reduces oxidative stress. So you reduce oxidative stress, reduce or keep down that inflammation, and it helps. I always say that MSM is the supporting actor. So it reduces oxidative stress and the inflammation, and allows things like glucosamine and chondroitin to do their work better, right? So if you can mitigate that oxidative stress, it just allows the other nutrients to do their job more efficiently.
All right, very well. Kind of a related question comes in from Robert, and he's kind of curious what testing has shown relative to MSM versus other sulfur supplements.
Well, we know that, okay, I'm sorry, something pinged in my ear just as you were saying that. Could you repeat that real quick, Scott?
Yeah, Robert's asking, have you found or tested the improved performance of MSM versus sulfur supplementation?
So you mean so in that, I mean, we basically have shown that the MSM and the bioavailability of it. It has not been put side by side with like NASC or other or sulfates or anything like that, right? So that's why I'm, by proving the bioavailability of it, that is basically where we're at. We haven't put it side by side other sulfur containing compounds. Is that answering his question, I think?
Yeah. Okay. It's going to have to. All right. Carrie's asking, as a customer, and you talked about the different purification processes. Is there a way we can tell that the MSM we are feeding to our pets is the distilled form and not the crystal form?
The way I could tell is I look at it under a microscope. If it looks like a long needle or a needle type crystal, then it's probably not distilled, right? Because that's how crystallized MSM looks. You check your source and, where is it coming from? You could ask your supplier, is this crystallized or is this distilled? Those are basically the main ways of looking at it. I mean, if you take MSM and you saw that was a 40-time micrograph, not too many people, but if you are going to throw it under a microscope to look at it, but you can tell by looking at it under a microscope. You only need 40 times magnification, and you can actually see those occlusions on the crystallized MSM.
All right. Thank you. Fernando, thank you for the kind word. Let's see. This one comes in from Eric. Please remind me how long MSM has been safely used in animal supplementation in the U.S.
Well, go back to the slide from the NASC where it said 39 years. So that's how long it's been used in the animal market. It was actually kind of started in as an equine supplement in the early years, and when it was being studied by Robert Hirschler and Stanley Jacob. They were working with a veterinarian named John Metcalf. And I mean, boy, that was before it was commercially used, and that dates back into the 80s. I actually have a lot of John's case studies handwritten out in 3-ring binders in my office. So it's been used for, over, actually, I mean, if you count that, it even goes back further than what NASC said, and you're talking over 40 years.
Yeah. Got a question from Joshua, and he's asking a question related to the amount to be supplemented. How do companies decide how much MSM to use, and what's the appropriate amount? Do you have any insights in that area?
Well, a lot of that is dependent somewhat on, are you talking canine, feline, or equine, right? Canine, feline, equine, they all have different amounts. If that is available from manufacturers, I don't have that directly, for each one of those. I would say that's best to talk to your supplier and get their recommendation. But it's also, you can pull that out of those studies that I had. I'm sorry, I didn't put that together. I do have a chart that talks exactly about, in the equine, canine, feline suggested doses. But I've got so many of the studies in my head right now. I'm not going to misquote. So it's better if you send me your email address, drop that into a chat. I can send you that chart.
Well, another thing we can do, Rodney, if you'll send that chart to us, we can also then include it in the handouts tab on this webinar here. Okay. And so people can come back and get that there. And any other, I would say, any other references or supplemental materials, we can put that there as well, Rodney.
All right. Sounds great.
All right. I've got another question. How long after feeding MSM would you expect to see any improvements in joint health or mobility?
Generally, within 1 to 2 weeks, you're going to see improvement. Again, it is a little bit dependent upon if you're going with a higher dose or a lower dose. A higher dose, of course, you generally see that improvement sooner. But generally, within 1 to 2 weeks, you should start seeing improvement. Yeah.
Well, my testimonial would say quicker, Rodney. I've begun using it based on your recommendations, and I'll see it within a couple days. And if I don't use it, I see it within a couple days as well. So that's not a recommendation, but that has been my experience. Next question. Let's see here. Does topical use of MSM affect the amount taken as an oral supplement?
No, it doesn't, because we have done the studies too. You basically have to prove that when you're using a topical, it doesn't go through the skin and into the bloodstream, right? So when you put it on topically, it is not transdermal. Now, that is in contrast to DMSO. So DMSO will pass through the skin and go into the bloodstream, right? Topically. MSM is just large enough. It's a larger molecule. It's 94 Daltons. It will not go through the skin and into the bloodstream. So they don't have a relationship. You still need to do the oral supplementation. MSM does go into topicals like creams, lotions, gels, and it can really help with that upper layer dermal hydration and things of that nature. We have seen in a human clinical trial, actually, where we did use it. It was at 15%. I actually did that just to check. We did what we call a repeat insult patch test, and did not see any kind of sensitization or anything, but it increased hydration of the skin. So, basically, in humans, we're looking at that to reduce fine lines and wrinkles, but it was shorter duration. once that's off, it goes back to being drier and comes back. So it is always best to use it both internally and then in a topical. But yeah, you don't have to worry about it going through the skin and raising the MSM levels in the bloodstream or anything, because it's not transdermal.
Yeah. Celeste is asking, what is the kill steps are in place during production?
Well, that's going back to distillation, right? If it's distilled, it boils at 478 degrees Fahrenheit. So when we are distilling it, we are boiling it, driving it off overhead, so a very high temperature. But also, there's several patents that I'm inventor of that we have shown that MSM does not support microbial growth. So a couple of things there. Remember, MSM is extremely dry when it's distilled. So there's really no water activity, but also have done challenge studies. This isn't published or anything, but I will tell you that we did do challenge studies where we actually took some of the pathogenic organisms and inoculated, the MSM, and we saw that it did knock it down, actually killed the microorganisms. So that's just so you know that it is kind of antimicrobial. There are patents around that. But the kill step basically is the fact that we're boiling the MSM, so it's exceeding 478 degrees Fahrenheit. Then once in its liquid form, it's kept at about 245 degrees Fahrenheit, right up to the point where it's converted into its final physical form and packaged.
All right. Thank you, Rodney. And thank you, everyone, for attending today's webinar. If you have additional questions, please submit them to anh.marketing@balchem.com. The Real Science Lecture Series continues with educational topics each month, including our next companion animal-focused webinar on April 8th, which will cover the topic of dietary choline with Dr. Androni Verbrugge from the University of Guelph. Visit balchem.com/realscience for details on future webinars and to register for upcoming events. Balchem's podcast series continues to offer a deeper dive into our webinar topics. Log on to your favorite podcast platform and search for Real Science Exchange or visit balchem.com/podcast. And if you want a really cool Real Science Exchange t-shirt, just subscribe to the Real Science Exchange and send us a screenshot along with your size and your address to anh.marketing@balchem.com, and we'll get that off to you right away. On behalf of Balchem and Rodney, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.